Welcome, everyone. I'm Mahnaz, FMCA's International Relations Coordinator, and I have a current student, Mercedes de Rink, with me. She's a biomedical scientist, and she has nearly 15 years of experience at the intersection of science, technology, and medicine. So, Mercedes, now you're on this journey to become a functional medicine certified health coach. You're soon to graduate, and you actually did something quite exceptional as a student, which would be, I think, really interesting to highlight. So, part of the graduation requirements at FMCA is that we ask you to coach two outside clients in Module 10. Yet you started coaching in Module 7. So, tell us a little bit about how you managed to create this opportunity for yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Manas. Thank you for having me. Well, this opportunity actually really grew very organically. I had the opportunity to do an internship at a sports medical center here in Switzerland called Motion Lab, which is quite unique in their approach to health. They have a really multidisciplinary approach that is quite unique. And I actually first knew them as a client. I initially went there wanting to lose weight like 3 years ago. And then later, during a burnout period where I really needed a place for healing and really find the joy of movement. And then eventually ended up preparing to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. So it was kind of my happy place, or where I found this joy and this place for healing. And yeah, really love this multidisciplinary model to health. So they have sports physicians, physiotherapists, exercise physiologists, and they're all working together. And I could really feel the power of collaborative care. And I developed a really good relationship with their head of sports physiology. And after some really deep conversations about health, we used to talk about health and understanding of health. I really started realizing that what was missing in many cases, it wasn't really more information, but rather the support with integration of all the information we have as patients or as clients, and support in behavior change and meaning. And after one of those conversations with him, I went home and I really started looking for, well, what can I do to help people like that. And that is actually how I found FMCA. And it was just really, really interesting how this conversation led to me joining FMCA. So while I was in Module 6, I asked him, the head of sports physiology, whether it could be interesting for them to pilot a health coaching program to explore how health coaching could actually integrate into their existing health promotion programs. And so he was very enthusiastic about it. But the real step was to pitch that idea to the director of the center. So yeah, it was a really exciting process on how that came about.
All right. So tell me a little bit about that process. I mean, obviously you nurtured this relationship that you were able to, create in the beginning, and you saw possibilities in a place where they couldn't see that. So what did you do to in this particular presentation?
So I knew from the beginning that I really needed to be super clear and very structured and very data driven, because they're super scientific in their approach and very data driven. So I prepared a presentation to pitch the idea. And I started by explaining what health coaching is, what it isn't, clarified boundaries, the scope of practice, and how health coaching can actually complement medical or therapeutic care, and presented the benefits of coaching for clients, and also the value of having a health coach within a multidisciplinary team. And so, as I said, they're super data driven. So I knew that I really needed something solid to present. And I went through the scientific resources and the studies that are available through FMCA. And I included them in the presentation. I highlighted one study showing the positive impact that even 3 months of coaching can have in lifestyle factors like sleep, stress management, nutrition. And that was really important to show because it was showing that it was something based on it was something evidence based and grounded in research. So it was really, really powerful. And something important was also to explain a little bit the program. So I really thought about how I could really explain what FMCA is, being a US based program. I really wanted to be super intentional about the positioning in an international context. And I included the fact that it is approved by UKIHCA and other international bodies. And I included the future health coach badge in the presentation, the UKIHCA logo, and explained what that actually represents in terms of standards and professionalism. And that really mattered in a Swiss organization where credibility and rigor is actually quite key. So yeah, it was
Oh,
really, I
no,
really
it's
felt, sorry.
yeah. Well, in terms of when we provide these resources at FMCA, we do get this feedback saying these resources are invaluable. Like we've learned so much through this, knowing, having those studies about the efficacy of health coaching. We've got, presented those 100 studies, but it's really good to hear when you've got an example of how someone's been actually able to use it within a presentation to create that pitch with that information. And the fact that things, even simple things like the badge that shows that you're about to become a health coach, that you are a functional medicine health coach candidate, I think that makes such a big difference because you've got these um, tools and resources that you're able to get through us. So, yeah, that's absolutely amazing. Thank you for sharing how useful they were to you. Right. So, when you did the pitch and they said yes, how did you feel?
So at the beginning, it was, of course, super exciting and it was just pure excitement. And it was incredible to see how something that started as a casual conversation after a physical therapy session, how it turned into a real concrete project. And but very quickly after that, fear started setting in. And I remember thinking, am I actually ready for this? I'm just in module 7, so do I really have everything I need? And in theory, I had almost everything I needed, but theory and practice are very different. And I
Right,
felt
yes.
a little, yeah, and I really felt a little bit like when I was getting my scuba diving license. So you first have the
Mm.
theoretical part, and then you practice in secure environment in the pool, and then you jump in the open ocean, and then you're just there. So it is really scary, but it's so exciting just to jump in the open ocean and see all the opportunities and all the yeah everything that is out there. So that was super exciting, but really scary at the beginning.
I think
And
that's such a
yeah.
such a thoughtful analogy that you've made there with the scuba diving, because you can actually see that there's, I suppose, some relevance to that in terms of what happens in FMCA when you do that live training session practice and you go into the breakout rooms. So all of those things I think are part of it. So I suppose at the time you're also learning about character strengths. So how did your character strengths and what you'd learnt about them shape the way you approached this particular opportunity? Because one of the things that you did is you looked out for opportunity, you looked out for possibility, and that's a testament to who you are as an individual, and that it came from that conversation and your willingness to have it. So, yeah, so how did those strengths and what you learnt about them shape how you actually approach this opportunity?
Well, I feel like, well, my top strength is curiosity, and that definitely helped me ask better questions of clients, of myself, of the system. Prudence is also one of my signature strengths, and I feel it really helped me respect boundaries, respect my scope of practice, and really knowing where I was able to operate. My honesty, I feel it really allowed me to be transparent about what I could offer and what I couldn't, read with complete honesty. And yeah, I feel like my creativity also really helped me adopt the tools and the approaches that I was learning during the program to a real life setting that didn't always look like the textbooks actually. So yeah, I feel like it was really interesting also to having done worked on my own character strengths and apply them into this experience. I feel like yeah, it really helped me stay grounded while navigating something new and that felt genuinely intimidating. So
Right.
yeah.
I mean, the way you describe it, it's so clear that you were very grounded in your strengths and you knew what you were able to offer. And I suppose that gives you a strength, a internal strength to be able to deal with these types of challenges. So, what were the things that actually helped you to prepare for this internship once you had it?
Well, from a personal perspective, I feel like the FMCA curriculum is incredibly rich. So I feel like by module 7, we had already covered so many tools and coaching framework, coaching structure, character strengths, value, the wellness wheel, behavior change framework. So it was really incredibly rich and having access to so much material, templates, documents, and having a clear coaching structure already really made me feel like I had a solid container already. So that was really, that felt that I wasn't really improvising, but I had something solid in my hands. And and the community aspect I feel was just as important. And being part of the UKIHCA cohort with this international community really allowed me to bring real cases to the cohort and have these weekly discussions and hear from fellow coaches feedback and hear different perspective on how to approach different barriers. It was also really interesting for me that I was coaching in French, which was also a part of the scary part of these project, and being in this international community um, that knows that coaching in a language that is not your native language can be a little bit intimidating. Also felt really good to have people around me who understood how that was. And I think one of a very important moment that we had during these weekly calls was a moment when you pointed out that I seem to be taking my client success as my personal responsibility, which I feel it's probably really common for new coaches. And then you invited me to office hours, and that one-on-one conversation was incredibly transformative. And I'm so grateful for having access and for your for you offering me that support. And it really helped me see how my perfectionism patterns and how that was showing up and how my identity was shifting a little bit from how was I becoming a little bit more aligned with my values, with my purpose. And so my old ways of operating didn't have to run the show anymore. So it was just really that one-on-one conversation was incredibly transformative. So thank you so much for that, Manas.
Oh, thank you. This is something that FMCA provides as a whole anyway. We provide so much support to our students. But I just want to go back to something that you said about coming into those discussions and sharing. You shared vulnerably, you shared in with so much courage to say, this is what's happening to me, this is my process as I'm coaching, this is what I'm coming across. And that actually gave a sense of courage to other students to do the same. And when they saw, oh, she's coaching and she made this opportunity happen, you were opening possibilities up for other students. And it was so wonderful to see that domino effect that you had on other students. And they started coming in saying, Mercedes, I also did this and I've got this opportunity. And now I have this student. I think that was probably the magic that happened within the community, where not only were they all cheering you on for what you achieved, they were also genuinely happy for you. Every week, everybody was waiting in anticipation. What's she going to come up with next? And so, you were authentically going through the journey, how it felt. And so it was almost like that vicarious experience. The other students were also able to learn through you. So really, I can't thank you enough for everything that you brought forward to those meetings and discussions as well.
Oh, thank you,
So,
Manas.
yeah, so I think we're getting to the part where we think, okay, so you did the internship. Can you tell us what was the result? Like what happened once you completed it? Because that was really inspiring to hear when you shared it with us as well.
Yeah. Well, so at the end of the program, I presented the outcomes, which I measured through a questionnaire. So I did a questionnaire at the beginning and at the end to measure the impact actually on modifiable lifestyle factors like sleep, stress management, nutrition, and overall well-being. I worked with a total of 9 clients. There were between 34 to 68, so it was a broad range of clients. I had 7 women and 2 men, and I had about 4 to 8 sessions per client. So it was really interesting to see the journey of each of them. And what was really exciting was that all of them, the 9 clients, completed the program, the 3 months. And that honestly stunned me. I really, it was just so, I was so grateful and so happy to see that level of engagement in such a pilot project and something completely new for in this organization. And yeah, it was just um, really interesting to hear also the feedback from the head of sports physiology. So when I presented the data, and he was saying that it was really good to see to have data that is actually confirming that health coaching truly has and truly belongs to these type of programs, and that maybe it's the sports programs that need to be a branch of health coaching and not the other way around. So it just felt really encouraging, and at the beginning I was like, really. But yeah, just seeing these results and these reactions felt really encouraging. And yeah, they after finishing the internship, they offered me a job, a hybrid role, basically as a project manager implementing health promotion programs and as a health coach. And I'm really grateful for that opportunity. I'm starting that next month. I'm graduating next month, starting the job next month. So it feels like the time of transition. So yeah, it was
Well,
an exciting.
I can't, yeah, I have to go back to what you've actually, there's a couple of things you've said that are just the fact that you had 9 clients and there was 100% attendance for them. It shows how you were being as a coach. And the fact that the head physiologist, I mean, it's golden for him to say, really, it's almost as if he got what that meant to have a health coach on the team. That it's literally, I mean, that's phenomenal that he said it should be health coaching with everything else.
Yeah, that's
I mean, that really is a testament to how you were coaching. The fact that you really absorbed everything in terms of what you've been taught at FMCA, the whole principles of functional medicine coaching, the coach approach itself. You would never have gotten to to that result without having all of this. So that, thank you so much for sharing that. That is really inspiring to hear. And I remember when we heard about your results, and also, that's your, I mean, that takes a lot of effort on your part. You really persevered with all of it, and so much thought went into it. You created the presentation in the beginning, you created a presentation at the end, you were able to show with evidence this works. And so you really are doing something that has forwarded what coaching really is. So, yeah, I think that's something to be so proud of for yourself as well.
Thank you,
So
Mana.
I'm actually going to sort of we're coming to the end of our call today and our interview, but I want to go back to the beginning because I recall we had a discovery call when you were first thinking of joining FMCA, and I remember at that time you said you'd suffered a burnout after a 10-year career in pharma. And I remember you saying, I want to find something that really aligns with my values. And I suppose values, they're something that arise from the essence of who we are. They're those quiet truths that are just waiting to be remembered. And you stepped into that. You had the courage to step into these are my values, this is what I want. It almost brings back to me the metaphor of you talking about Mount Kilimanjaro and that that journey. It's like, so you've done FMCA, you came in, you're about to graduate soon. It's almost as if you've climbed to the top of that summit. Would you describe whether or not you actually found something that aligned with your values?
Yes, absolutely. I think looking back, I can see how profoundly transformative this journey, this year has been. I mean, I feel now really aligned with my values, especially with my value of health. So my understanding of health shifted from being disease free to something much richer, and just having the ability to live with energy, with purpose, and with agency, and being able to support and empower other people on that path feels incredibly meaningful. And I feel like this journey, this my time at FMCA has really helped me realize that alignment isn't just about becoming someone new, but it's about integrating who you already are in a way that finally makes sense. And yeah, I feel like FMCA didn't just teach me how to coach, but it gave me the confidence to step into a life that feels coherent, grounded, and mine. It's my own personal path. So it's been incredibly transformative, and I feel incredibly grateful for all the opportunities I had.
And we're really grateful that you stepped in and that you are doing everything that you're doing. And I wish you all the very best in the future and everything that you plan to do with your coaching on the side, as well as what you're doing as a result of this internship. And I'm sure that, the future has so much brightness for you. Thank you again, Mercedes.
Thank you so much, Manas, and thank you for having me and for all your incredible support throughout this journey. It wouldn't have been the same without you and the UKIHCA cohort. Yeah, it has been incredible. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Mercedes.